and girls. Today I have a riddle for you. I want you to watch this little video and tell me what mountain do you think this truck is riding up onto. Look carefully and see if you can tell me the name of the mountain. Guessed what mountain it is? Maybe it's the Drakensberg Mountains. Who says so? Not. Maybe it's Table Mountain. Anybody for Table Mountain? Also not. Maybe Mount St. Helens in America. Also not. Oh, I hear somebody saying it is Mr. Mole Mountain. Do you think that person is right? It is Mr. Mole Mountain. All right, let us show you what it actually was. In our garden, on our lawn, all of a sudden we've got lots of little mountains on the lawn. Can you see them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's another one here, 10 little mole mountains coming out. Now today I want to tell you a little bit about moles. Moles are tiny little animals. They can fit into the palm of your hand, and they only weigh as much as a half a cup of sugar. So they are very light. Moles are also nice and soft because they have a nice soft brown fur on their skins. Most people say that moles are blind, but they're not altogether blind. They are sensitive to color. They can see when it's light, they can see when it's dark, and they are colorblind, so they can't see color, but they're not totally blind. Moles have very sharp little claws, and that is what they use to scratch the ground when they make tunnels. It's almost like swimming. They put their little paws to the front, they scratch the ground loose, and then the ground that they can't scratch to the back, they push out with their noses out to the top of the ground. Moles like to eat earthworms. They eat lots of earthworms. They can eat half of their body weight in earthworms in one day. So that means about a quarter cup of earthworms. That's a lot, eh? Just imagine if you had to eat half as much food as what you weigh every day. That would be a lot of food. Moles do not live in cities. They live like 1 or 2 in a big area. They are lonely little animals. They're not like sheep or birds that are a lot together. They're just 1 or 2. And then when it's time for them to mate, then the male mole will look for a female in the area where he is, and then they will have little babies. The little babies are very, very small when they're born, but they grow fast. And when the babies are 6 weeks old, they start making their own little houses, and they leave their mommy and their daddy. Moles have little pantries in their tunnels, and that is where they keep their earthworms and maybe other little bugs that they will keep and store for food when they need to. Moles can become 3 years old. When a mole is 3 years old, is very, very old. Are some of you 3? Yeah, but you're not old. You're still very young and you've still got lots of energy. So let us learn from the moles. They work very hard looking for food and they dig tunnels all over our gardens. They are not dangerous, but they just upset Mommy and Daddy when they make all the tunnels. Okay, boys and girls, so now let's see if we can make a little picture of mole tunnels. So what you're going to need is an A4 piece of paper and a black kokie or a brown kokie if you've got one. So we'll start off by drawing the ground. So we're going to make the top part of the ground, and then we're going to make the mole hills. And now we're going to make the tunnels. We're going to make tunnels all over, and as we learnt in our story, moles make pantries or little kitchens. So we're going to make extra little openings where they can put their food away. And we're going to go all over because moles, like we learned, make lots of tunnels and they go all over the place. And then they push some of the ground out at the top. Okay, now that you've drawn all your little mole tunnels, you can perhaps make little sand particles or little stones in between your tunnels. Leave the tunnels open so that you can see where your mole goes. And then you can perhaps take a little bit of brown paint and you can color or paint the ground. You can make little brown spots all over the ground so that you can see where the ground is. You can do that all over. And you can also take a little bit of soil maybe. So we can take a little bit of cold glue and we can squeeze it out of the bottle. And we can put it all over where the soil needs to go. And then we can take some of the soil that the mole pushed out of the hole and we can put it on the glue so that our picture looks very real. This soil is nice and soft because the mole made it very fine with the sharp nails on his claws. So they push it out, they make the soil soft and they make it loose, and then we're just going to sprinkle this back onto the paper. There you go. Now you can see your little channels in between, your little tunnels. And now we can perhaps take a little bit of blue paint and we can color in the sky. There you go, there's the sky. And we can perhaps make some clouds. So we take a little bit of cotton wool and we use some of the glue and put some glue on our nice blue sky, and we put cotton wool on there for some pretty clouds. And then we forgot about the mole heap that comes out at the top of the ground. That must also be colored in brown or painted or get some soil on because they look like little mountains, remember? So we put some soil on that as well. And we're going to throw that off. And then remember we said that the moles have a little pantry and they keep food in the pantry. And what did we say their food was? Earthworms. So we're going to take this little string of wool and we're going to cut it into little pieces for earthworms. And you can place them in the mole's pantry. Moles can keep up to 400 earthworms in their little pantry. So that if they don't find any earthworms, when they're making their tunnels, then they have a lot of food in their pantry. Just like we also have a pantry or a cupboard where we keep our food, the moles have the same thing. And then you can ask Mommy for maybe 2 little velvet balls, and we can take the glue and stick the 2 little balls together, and there you've got your little mole digging his tunnels. I would like to see your pictures, so if you make pictures of the mole tunnels, feel free to send them to us. Okay, boys and girls, today we learned about the mole, and we saw that the mole is partly blind. Do you know anybody that's blind? Do you think people also become blind? Or people become blind? Yes, there are. Some people are born blind, and some people become blind because of a disease in their eyes. Or old people start seeing less because their eyes become very tired. Now in the Bible we have 2 stories of blind men. The one man's name was Bartholomew, and we read about Bartholomew in Mark 10. So your mommies and daddies can read the story for you in the Bible. And Jesus was walking along the road, and when he got to Jericho, Bartholomew was sitting next to the road, and he heard the people saying that Jesus was coming along the way. And he was so desperate to be able to talk to Jesus and to have Jesus help him that he started shouting. And he said, "Jesus, please help me. Jesus, please help me." And the other people that were standing around him told him to be quiet. And they said, "Bartholomew, stop shouting like that." But he just shouted louder and louder. And he said, "Jesus, please help me. Jesus, please help me." And as Jesus came closer, he heard Bartholomew, and he said, "Bring him to me." And then the people that were standing around Bartholomew said, "Bartholomew, get up, stand on your feet. Come, Jesus wants to talk to you." So they helped him and they took him to Jesus. And Jesus said, "What do you want? Why are you calling me?" And he said, "Oh, if please just let me be able to see. Please, can you heal my eyes?" And Jesus felt so sorry for him, because he knew that to be blind must definitely not be nice. And he said, "Bartholomew, because you believe, your eyes will be made well." And just then, right at that moment, Bartholomew's eyes could see, and he was so happy. And the best thing of all was that the first thing that he saw was Jesus. Jesus' kind smile and Jesus' loving face. And then at another time, Jesus was at a pool, close to a pool called the Pool of Bethesda. And we read of that story in John 9. So your mommies and daddies can read to you in John 9. There was a man that was blind from that he was born. And as Jesus came closer, he also asked Jesus to please heal his eyes. Jesus looked at him and felt so sorry for him. And he said, "I will." And you know what Jesus did? Jesus spit on the ground and he made a little bit of mud, and he put it on the man's eyes, and he said, "Now take the man to the Pool of Bethesda, and let him wash his eyes." If the man did not believe in Jesus, he could just have said, "What is this little bit of mud going to do to my eyes?" But he believed, he knew that if he asked Jesus to do something for him, that Jesus will. So his friends took him to the pool, and there he washed his eyes, and then his eyes could see. He was so happy, and he praised God for helping him to see again. These stories teach us that if we really need something from Jesus, we can call on him like Bartholomew did. He called Jesus. And if we ask him to do something, we must believe, just like the second man did. He believed that Jesus could heal him, and that's why he went and washed his eyes. So let us always believe and trust in God, what he can do for us.